You got some AC/DC or something?
Oh, is that where we're going?
What do you want, David? We're gonna play you in with some AC/DC. Do you want that?
Some free falling from Tom Petty.
Free falling Tom Petty.
There we go.
Welcome to the. This is good. I like this. Welcome to the Dentist on Demand podcast. I'm your host Tyler, and as usual, we have our trusty, the one and only Mr. Mark Wagner.
Good morning. I'm the German Wagner this morning.
You got the Irish, you got the German, and we've got David here with us.
Your last name. I don't know if you know this, but this is a Mont-Blanc King Ludwig edition pen. Very proud of this collector's item.
Wow, we have fellow Germans here.
German background, you could appreciate that.
There you go. Yes,
awesome.
Excellent.
Everyone, we got David Neuber. So, David, it's probably gonna look weird. You're gonna see me looking up like this because we got a couple of camera angles going on. So, everyone, we've got the talented, the amazing, the guy I love to talk to and just pick his brain as long as I possibly can, Mr. David Neuber, with us from Ocean Ceramics. Now, you guys are in Coquitlam, right?
Correct. Right beside the huge IKEA.
Right. So, Ocean Ceramics is right beside the huge IKEA. Literally, when you pull off the Brunette exit and you head north, they're literally 30 feet past the exit. You can't miss them. So, David Neuber, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, I'd love to be here, Tyler. It's not really familiar with podcast land, but it's a fun experience so far.
It's the new land we're in.
It's the new reality. It's the new norm.
Yes.
So I want to jump right in. So David and I have known each other for a number of years. I've been a lab consultant for probably the better part of a decade. So, and in this journey, every time I go into Ocean Ceramics, for lack of a better word, I usually get schooled by somebody in the lab who knows just so much more about dental than I do. And I love it. I love going in there. It's always a learning experience for me. I talk to you. I talk to your brother, James. And you guys are always telling me cool, interesting, new, innovative things that you're doing at the lab. And I thought, if there's somebody to have on this podcast with us, it would be one of you. And I really do appreciate you being here. So I kind of want to I'll do a quick intro. I'll read a little bit about you. So, second generation dental technician. He and his brother, James, are not just exceptional technicians, but are teachers and facilitators in dental CE. That's continuing education. Their focus has always been on finding the root of the problem that faces their dentists that ultimately affect them. Consistency is the name of the game to run a successful lab. Dentists thrive on great aesthetics and function, and ultimately labs die if they don't deliver these results. In my opinion, truer words have never been spoken. I work with dentists all day, every day. As you know, I spend a good chunk of my time working knee to knee with dentists on the supplies and equipment side of things and solutions and helping them grow their practices. But I still keep a firm footing in the lab world, working with talented technicians such as you and your brother. So, can you give us a bit of a genesis? Like, where did Ocean come from?
Yeah,
a bit of the backstory there.
For sure, the background is ultimately we're being second generation. Our parents were in this business, in the 60s, 70s. And, for a lot of your listeners, they weren't even born already then. But that was the reality, how far it went back. My mom was the first person to actually fire porcelain on the metal, the first lady technician to fire porcelain on the metal.
No way.
In the Pacific Northwest. And, that's how far back it goes. We've went through every growth curve there is in new products and such that have come, you could imagine. I go back to problems with challenges with porcelain fused to non-precious metals. Like, our lab was one of the first ones to do that. It used to be gold, only porcelain fused to gold. We dealt with all the coefficient fracture problems back in then. I remember already my parents telling me back in the day around the dinner table, they got home and they were working on full mouth reconstructions, one-piece bridges.
Holy
and in the morning, before they shipped the case out, the porcelain's all crack lines all through it, right?
Right.
And that kind of anxiety of, trying to get something that's nice and deliverable And so we've run by almost every problem there is. We remember the days of Dentsply's Dicor, castable glass. Who would ever think of casting glass?
Wow.
Insuram, that was the evolution. Then there was Empress, and then we've got Emax today, which I still think is the most incredible material next to the zirconia, a lot of zirconia restorations. But yeah, in that journey, there's just been lots of problem solving, finding the root of the problem. And, not to pretend that we knew it, we just had to basically pray for wisdom and smart people, like yourself, Tyler, and or other people. They shared their knowledge. So when we pray for wisdom, that's what we're looking for. It's
right.
Not that we're all of a sudden smarter, but wise people come in our midst and share their solutions, their ideas of what maybe it could be.
Yeah, the stuff that's new and that's coming down the pipe, right?
Yeah, but just the science behind it, the logistically things that work and what don't work, because it's just an outside view of what, how it can happen. But, Tyler, one of the things that I wanted to, really nail today, if anyone is listening that is this kind of knowledge interests them, I was hoping to basically cover three key things. If it's one thing I learned from Steve Jobs. Yeah. Steve Jobs was one of the first amazing presenters, but I read his biography and he says, if you have any more than 3 points, you're basically going to lose. No one's going to remember more than, most people won't remember more than 3.
I couldn't
agree.
So
3 points. Yeah, the 3 points I want to nail home today with you guys on this podcast with this time, because I know, and that's another thing. Not very often attention spans are much longer than 30 minutes on this kind of, format. Mm-hmm. But the 3 things I really want to nail today with you, if I can, is first of all, whether you're a dentist or a lab guy watching this, know how you are fit in your marketplace. In other words, how do you want to be known and positioned among your competition? Okay, as a dentist, most dentists, I feel, do a very poor job of it. They all say they're really good at, at ortho or crown and bridge or cosmetics and all that stuff, but it's all the same. Very few of them actually set themselves apart and really talk about that or advertise that with their staff, hygienists, and patients. Mm-hmm. That's the first one. We personally feel we set ourselves apart, as a whole, being at this for just about over 40 years now. I see dentists or technicians, you're either a small, intimate lab or you're a big mega lab. Okay. And there's very few in the middle, and that's what we are. We're a family lab that basically has the resources to tap into all the things the big lab does, stay competitive, and take it to another level and bring teaching into the modality. Okay, mm-hmm. That's how we position ourselves. So that's primarily the key thing that I think is really important, whether you're a dentist or any person, any business. Know how you fit in your marketplace. Mm-hmm. The second one is, as far as consistency, that's been a real journey with fit. We've just figured out, probably, 15, 20 years ago, we figured out with the traditional impressions how to get perfect fits. We're still on the forefront trying to get perfect fits with digital. Definitely the scanners are amazing, but the printers are the weakest link right now. Printers mm-hmm. and or milling. And so we're still on that journey. We humbly say that. We haven't got it perfected yet, but we're getting darn close. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the third thing is education. Okay, so basically, how do you position yourself in your marketplace? Consistency, fit, function, and or aesthetics. But the third one being is, ultimately, a lot of dentists know how, again, going back to how you set yourself apart from everyone else. Most dentists are all saying they do great work and they're friendly, kind, but very few know how to do large, comprehensive restorative work. These are the big ticket cases,
Right.
and talk about it with their patients in a way that they get excited about it, but do it differently. Because here's the thing, Tyler, what I noticed with most dentists is we teach a course called Denta4, and meaning optimizing 4 things: airway, jaw, joint, muscle, teeth. Okay, that's the goal.
Airway, jaw, joint, muscle, and
airway, jaw, joint, muscles, teeth.
and teeth.
Okay,
Yeah. Of course. Teeth.
that's the 4 things that Denta4 is all about. And where I'm going with this is most dentists, you got to think, patients are motivated to do treatment based on 2 primary things. They're either in pain, okay, or they want to look better.
Right.
But the big thing that trumps all that is finances, for the most part.
Right.
Okay, it's not covered by insurance. How do I pay for that? And so, but we found in our Denta4 course with the wild card that basically helps patients justify spending $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on a treatment plan, and that's health. When you can improve someone's headaches, migraines, snoring, sleep apnea, bruxing, and all that stuff that's breaking down their teeth, okay? If you can find that let's just say that happy place, that new improved jaw position for them, they've never felt so good in their entire life. Now they're incredibly motivated to restore something that fits, functions, and looks amazing. So that's basically breakdown of those 3 things.
Yeah, and that's critical because I've mentioned this before, is that we recently changed dentists. I'd say probably about 4 or 5 years ago. So I guess not that recently, but I was the first to move to this new dentist that we have now, and he sat me in the chair and he said, "We're not going to do anything today. We're just going to talk." And for me, if I was in a hurry, if I was like, I got to get to work, I'd be like, "Oh man, can we just schedule more time?" So they were good at communicating. Like a lot of people, just fix it. I got to go. But they framed the conversation. They said, before I came in, they said, "Do you have a little bit of time to talk to the dentist? Because we just sort of want to get to know you better. We want to know what you're looking for. If you just need to fix and get on with your day, that's fine. We can do that. But if you want to have a deeper conversation, if you want to enhance your smile, are you having pain, are you snoring, or any of that kind of stuff?" Like he said, and I made the time for it. I knew they set the expectation with me. They knew that, or I knew coming into the office that day that I was going to be talking about my health and, about my teeth and my health and my airway. Or I didn't say, I wouldn't know it as airway then, but, am I sleeping? Is like, how do my teeth feel? Do I like the way they look? And it wasn't more about pain or anything like that. I wasn't having snoring issues or TMJ or any of that kind of stuff, but I wanted my teeth to look better. So I was open to the conversation. So that part for me is that it's not necessarily about blasting out there to the public to say, "Hey, I'm the best at cosmetic," or "I'm this, I'm that." It's that step of getting the patient in the chair and saying, "Hey, you know what? Are you open to a 10 to 15-minute conversation? I just want to find out, hey, is there something with your health? Can we talk about your overall health?" Because I'm a believer in being dental for as long as I have now, that your oral health has a huge impact on your overall health. And once you understand that as a patient, that opens the door to have a broader conversation with your dentist to say, there's more here than just fixing a cavity.
And it's important to know too, like the science is backing that up now. Like all sorts of things are stemmed to your oral health, like heart disease, diabetes, all these things are, relatable, right? So we need to really, part of the piece is education, right? Like we really need to instill that in our patients, and that's why we're all here, right?
We're all here, and then I moved to this new dentist, and my wife, she's very cautious, and I said, you should come check out this dentist. He does some interesting stuff that really appeals to me. I like what he does. He did, he checked out glands. He did the whole I think it was in his training. That's right. And I said, just go, just give him 10 minutes, hear him out, see what he has to say. And she called me later on that day. She says, "Oh, that was amazing." And I said, "What?" And she said, asked me like 100 questions about my health, and he was checking out different areas of my face and my jaw and talking about my TMJ, which no one ever proactively asked me about before, which to her was cool because she's like, my TMJ is an issue. It hurts. And I never thought I could fix this. So for her, that was awesome. Yeah. She was really thrilled with that.
Tyler, the reason why majority of dentists don't talk about TMJ, they don't know how to fix it.
Right.
And honestly, that's one of the reasons why we got involved in our program and teach it now, the Dent4 program, is because you have 90% of dentists coming out of dental school, they only know the TMJ exists. They don't know and understand how to fix it.
Right. And
there's different variances of, levels of TMJ disorders. Some are super simple, and people live with that chronic issue, TMD issues, for a large part of their life. And they don't even know that there's an opportunity to help them with a clicking, popping, deviating jaw joint, or jaw function, right? Mm-hmm. And there's so many levels. Some are just because patients have worn their teeth down to a point where it's like, now you're no longer even sitting most actual people believe that jaw rotates. It's the only joint in the whole human body that is designed to dislocate.
Oh, wow.
It's actually designed to dislocate. And everyone still thinks it rotates. It doesn't. When you open up, your whole jaw dislocates. Mm-hmm. And it's the only joint in the human body that does that.
That's interesting.
So that in itself, if you were asked, I bet you 95% of people, they have no idea. They just think it rotates, right?
Right.
So anyways, that's why it's a very unique, but it's not hard. It's not hard to help these patients.
Right. And
when you start to give some simple things for them, like a simple orthotic for them to wear, they start to and it's not just a night guard, okay? It's not just a guard or just a splint. It's with design, okay, and purpose.
So there's a treatment plan with that.
Yeah, and you don't even, a lot of doctors, they think, I can't tell my patient they're going to, the end goal is going to be $30,000-$40,000 treatment plan. Well, of course you don't start there. There's a lot of, let's just call blue-collar options for people that have these issues that don't require them to go and get a full mouth reconstruction or some big treatment plan. There's lots of inexpensive options too. Are they the nicest? No, but at the end of the day, you get that person in that healthy position, where they're not snoring and having sleep apnea or issues as bad. Okay, mm-hmm. They're not bruxing and grinding their teeth and destroying them, and they just overall are healthier in their face and relaxed.
Right. Now, if I'm a dentist in the Lower Mainland, and I'm like, hey, that sounds really compelling. I want to be able to fix this for my patients. Can they come to you? How would they get their feet wet in this?
Yeah. So right now, we have probably about, I'm going to say, just over 200 graduates of our program.
This is the Dent4 program?
The Dent4 program. And the doctors that go through that, I'm going to say probably a third of them are actively doing it. The other 2/3 that went through the program, they have a new appreciation that they say, now I know how this works, but you know what? It's not for me. I'm going to refer those to doctors that really are jumping in with both feet.
So at least they have a better understanding of it.
Yeah, they have a better understanding, and now they at least know how to help those patients. Okay, and get them the right help. And there's still very few that actually know and how to do that. And that's why it's a golden opportunity for dentists. If you want to set yourself apart from everyone, all your other colleagues, you ask, or you just look or do a Google search, how many doctors in your area actually help patients with TMJ issues. And here's the amazing thing. If you give a simple symptom screening form that flush this out, you're going to find that of TMD or TMJ issues, you're going to find that 25% of your patients have no issues with it at all. And that's great. Okay, you just do traditional dentistry. But here's the wild card. The other 25% are chronic TMD problems. Okay, they know they have problems coming through the door. Okay, those are the 25 that said they got a problem. They don't even know where to get help. Okay, or they went and they've just, nothing's working. Okay, those are the golden opportunities to cherry pick and do really large comprehensive treatment plans eventually when you get the TMD issues sorted out. But the other 50%, that 50%, those that do actually have mild TMJ issues, if you help them, those are the ones that are going to blow up your aesthetic restorations and or functional restorations with larger treatment plans, because those are the ones that dentists are glazing over all the time as far as not really realizing the potential.
Right.
But I can't say enough, though, Tyler, in saying this, and this is the why this course is so important if you're going to even dive into this type of thing. The college, which we obviously are mandated and we have to respect, College of Dental Surgeons, does not want you opening up or changing jaw relationships or the bite.
Right.
Everyone has to know that. But what they do appreciate is the fact that if you take a patient through a phase 1 orthotic progression, which is a series of orthotics, you always give the patient the opportunity to wean off of those orthotics and go back to the original position they were. Now, most patients, if you're chronic, you got that 25% that I said that's really, really bad. There's no way they'd rather sign a consent form to say, forget it. I do not want to be in that position again. That was the worst thing I ever did. Okay. Right. That was the worst place in my life. But, the other 25% that have those issues, when they sign off and are in that new sweet spot, now you have a golden position to restore to, and not the forces that are self-destructing of your teeth. You don't do the brushing, grinding like you traditionally would.
And I mean, you're, at the end of the day, if you're getting somebody out of pain and you're enhancing their lifestyle, I mean,
it's a huge reward. It's a huge reward. I mean, one thing is aesthetics. I mean, that's always the icing on the cake when you give someone a new smile.
Hollywood smile.
But there's even something more gratifying. And that's what's kept me so excited after 40 years of doing this is, if it was just for making single molars, I'd be bored 20 years ago.
No kidding.
But when you can actually improve the health, and this is a Canadian statistic, Health Canada statistic, if snoring sleep apnea goes unaddressed, you can take 8 to 10 years off of anyone's life.
Right.
100%.
Okay?
Yep.
That's huge. That's huge.
That's a big number. Yeah. So I had some questions that I want to run through. We may have already touched on a lot of these, but I had written down. Give us an example of how critical consistency is for your clients to Ocean.
Oh yeah. That's glazed over that one quickly.
I mean, consistency, right? I see it all the time. Where once you have someone's trust and they're getting a consistent product from you, I mean, they're yours for life and it's yours to lose, right?
Yeah, 100%. And the first mentor I had that, when we were talking about praying for wisdom, I went to a course with Dr. Dick Tucker, and he was a famous Washington professor / dental teacher in Washington. All he did was gold inlays, onlays. Okay, that's all, with the exacting fit. And I was in a study club, and I said to him, Dr. Tucker, you got to help me out here. And I'm just a young guy, and he's already, he was probably 70 or then. Right. And that was 20 years ago. And anyways, I said, why is it? Those were the days when I was making every gold crown there was. Why is it that some new doctors I get, I make a beautiful gold crown for them, fits perfect, right? Fits perfect. And then there's the one-off that I'll make it for, and I made it myself. And the doctor says, And I phone and follow up. How did that case go? And he says, it was the worst crown I ever got. He says, it didn't fit properly. I had to adjust the contacts. The bite was a mile high. And it's like, I'm scratching my head, thinking, how am I going to build a business with this kind of, hit and miss result?
Right.
And that Dr. Tucker just smiled and he says, Dave, how many impression materials do you get into your lab? And I says, at least 8 or 10 different ones. At least. And he says, how many different tray techniques are they using? Probably 5 or 6. Metal trays, plastic trays, full arch trays,
so many variables.
Trays, all the variables. And he says, let me explain. And what is the expansion of your diet stone?
Keep going, David. I'm just plugging in. Well, keep going. I'm just going to plug in while you keep talking here.
Yeah.
Just plug in.
No clue what the expansion of my diet stone is. I don't know. You learn that in school and you forget about it, right? Well, ultimately, it came down to, he says, look, if we are providing science, and if you want consistent end results, you have to work with consistent beginning materials, that match one another. So he says, here's what you got to do. Find an impression material. They all shrink. They all have different shrinkage rates. Find one that matches the exact expansion of that material.
Yeah.
And it was like, he says, that's the first duplication. You can control everything in your lab, but you can't control that first thing. Sure enough, that was the light bulb moment for my brother and I. And basically, that's where we nailed down. The first material was Impergum. We found it to be the most consistent material with our dye stone.
Impergum still going today. I still get people ordering that stuff from me.
I know. And it's the most expensive material, and it tastes like crap. But it is extremely good for implants and or, consistent crown and bridge. But then we found a polyvinyl that really we found was superior, and it met all the advantages. Doesn't taste like crap, and it's still super accurate. And that's the honeycomb. But ultimately, that was the first thing. But then all of a sudden, wonderful digital technology comes, and now we have to reinvent.
Yes.
So I was going to say, so you've locked down this process. You've controlled that. You're like, I've nailed this. We've got it. We've controlled that. And all of a sudden, boom, intraoral scanners come along.
Yeah, exactly. And, in fairness, what we have seen, you take if all the scanning devices are really, they all have their little nuances and their little softwares that give them other advantages over another. But at the end of the day, if a scan is taken and proper retraction is done and a proper prep is done, you really can execute. It just seems funny that in our experience as a lab, most dentists that were struggling with traditional impressions, those were the first ones to get into digital because they've been promised it's going to be way better.
Right.
The reality is, if you couldn't take a really good traditional impression, it's not going to work for you in the digital world.
That's right.
So tell me more about that. So that's interesting because if you're, what do you find like in terms of technique? Like, are they're not giving impression taking the respect that it deserves to?
100%, 100% is retraction skill.
Retraction.
A cord, traditional cord, 2 layers of cord, and or it doesn't. I am still yet to see a better system than a cord retraction. I've been in over 200 offices, easy on the prep techniques, and I've yet to see one office do the same procedure throughout.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why that was another. We were fortunate. I've been fortunate to be in some of the highest producing dental offices in Canada. And quite frankly, when you sit in with doctors like that, you learn a lot of really good pearls on what they do consistently with preparation technique, retraction technique, temporization technique, and or the final impression.
Right.
And one of the things I just love doing, and if any of your listeners ever looking for that, I love being like a chairside observing of what your technique is. And I guarantee you, anyone who invites me to their office for that process, I will bring them to a whole new level of consistency with their staff, their end fitting results, because I've seen what works and I've seen what doctors consistently get fantastic results with.
Right.
And, it's really, really gratifying to see someone come to another level of, that, because it's just a huge stress relief when it's still to this day, Tyler. I talked to veterans and newbies to the dental field, as far as dentists goes. And, it's amazing to me how many doctors book a half an hour to an hour to cement a restoration.
Really?
I just can't believe it. Yeah.
Wow.
And if a dentist follows the steps that we ask them to do, they don't even book a whole unit of time, say a half an hour. They fit it in with like an exam.
Right.
Okay. They don't even book a slot of time.
So let's do an exam and slap that crown back in.
Exactly. Exactly. Now you can't do that if you're monkeying around knowing that you got to fit or the bite in or just the bite or the contact or a margin or whatever. And I'm talking, 1 or 2 units. I'm not talking like large restorative teams,
of course,
right?
Yeah.
So
sort of cut you off, David. How do you find the adoption rate with scanners? I mean, Mark, you can probably chime in on this too. Like, are you noticing, are people adopting intraoral scanners across the board, or are you seeing sort of more veterans picking up, or are you seeing more younger dentists coming out of school with it?
That's a good one. Like most docs that are picking up scanners right now, I hate to say it, but they've been promised the world and they want to implement everything all at once. Okay, like they just want to use that technology. They just spent like, I don't know, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, who knows how much. Yeah. And they're thinking, I got to make this work.
And I'm not that guy promising the world, just so you know. I come from the CAD/CAM world, as you know, David, and I do say one of my downfalls. Are you okay?
Yeah. Well, just to note, our card in our audio recording is we're running out of.
We're running low.
We're running out of space.
How long do we have?
I don't know.
Okay, we're running a long time, so we'll try to keep this under 5 minutes. But anyways, what I was going to say was that I'm more the cautious rep, right? I'm like, look, you can get into scanning, and I'd love for you to buy a scanner from me, but let's make sure we take a good hard look at all the options out there. And then I get on the phone with guys like you, and I say, listen, this person's about to buy this scanner. Can you at least give them, can you talk to them and make sure they understand from a non-biased opinion what they're getting into?
A good dentist will use it like a 2-gun cowboy. Okay, he'll use digital/traditional impressions as he feels one would do better than the other.
Okay,
I think it's safe to say that all deep subgingival margins, bleeders, having a hard time controlling tissue, gaggers, it's really tough to do a really nice scan on that.
Right.
Really tough. Okay. And you know what? That's when you've got to have another traditional impression material to drive that impression material down to pick it up.
Got it.
Obviously, if you're at gum level or higher, super or at the gum level, you can do a scanner all day long. Okay. And no problem. But it's what we really, really struggle with is when dentists say they use one technology only for every case. And that's frustrating.
That's a recipe for some issues.
I like that analogy, the 2-gun cowboy.
That's good. I like that.
I might use that.
I know what weapon to use in this situation here.
Yeah.
And exactly. And we have some brilliant dentists that just, they know when to pick because they're busy. They haven't got time to just jam one tech. That's when you get really frustrated, when you're jamming one technology down, in your office and it's not producing the results. And those are the guys that say, I should have never done Tyler. I should have never bought that thing from Tyler,
Yeah.
Tyler sold me a lemon.
And then exactly. So that's the reality of it.
Yeah, I hear you. Real quick, before we wrap up here,
Yeah.
Where's your focus with digital? What's your focus with the ever advances in digital?
Right now, our focus 100% is nailing and refining the consistency of our printing system in the lab.
Right.
Okay, that's the biggest, I think, that's the biggest ceiling we're feeling right now, or that's the new, I'm waiting for the new smart guy to come through the door to help us with. It's good, but it's not, I can't go to sleep and just, it's not like consistent to the point where I'm thinking, and more specifically, not with Vista crowns, but contacts.
Right.
The contacts with printers are a little hit and miss with
because it's
how
resin.
accurate.
Resin, yeah.
We have ours with the stone. We're dialed down to 15 micron tape pulled through the contact with resistance, and that'll give our dentist a snap lock fit every time. I don't even have to think about it. Okay, yeah. But if your modeling system printing is not that precise, you're not going to generate that kind of consistency, and that's what we're struggling with, Tyler.
I love that.
But we're going to get there.
Yeah, and I love that you're trying to like crack that nut because it's been around for a while, and I think that everyone's kind of looking at. They can't probably articulate it the same way you can, but I think everyone's kind of like, man, I don't. What's wrong with my prints? What's going on here? So, and I think it also speaks to the fact that if you're a dentist and you're looking to just jump into the printing technology realm, caution, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna caution you to say, you can't just push a button and have a model come out of it. No. There's a lot more to it.
And you may have to still pull out your impression material once in a while.
Yeah, right. God forbid.
Be that two gun cowboy.
Where did the name Ocean come from?
Well, our parents, they started a lab called Pacific Dental back in the 60s, 70s. And, and so it was in that when we sold and then I was a partner in that for a while. And then when we sold that lab and restarted another laboratory, we thought, well, we can't use Pacific. We're going to have to find something close. Let's pick the ocean. We all love the ocean. And so.
Can you see it from
there? And it's easily recognizable,
Yeah. Can you see the ocean from your lab?
From the IKEA? If you get on top of the IKEA.
I'd have to go real high on a crane lift or something, but maybe one day.
David, this has been awesome. We're going to wrap up because I want to make sure we don't lose any sound here.
We have 10 minutes.
Oh, do we have 10
minutes?
I've
discovered on the technology.
Oh, he sees the counter.
It's telling me.
You can tell my interview style just sped up all of a sudden, right? Like, okay, we're going to start moving through some questions here. Okay, so knowing that we have a little bit of breathing room here, is there anything that I haven't touched on that you want to talk to us about? I mean, we talked a little bit about why you got into CE. Is there more there that you want to tell us, or is that?
Yeah,
you gave us a nice story
I think the thing that one thing, one of our strengths as far as the lab goes is, there's a lot of dentists that go out and get great CE, but their lab or technician, whatever they're working with, is not learning at the same pace as them.
Right.
And when that happens, that's what creates the disconnect of, this is what I'm looking for, and I'm not getting it. Okay. And that's why, early on, James and I, my brother and I, we got so involved with going to the same courses that dentists do, because we realized not only was it the perfect environment to actually meet and or greet and learn with potential new customers, but, it always brought us to a better understanding what they're looking for.
Right.
And that's why even with our Dent 4 course, there's always 3 or 4 ocean techs in the course as they're learning, so that they know that what they learn, they can implement it. So we end up being like, a perfect analogy is when you learn a whole bunch of stuff like this Dent 4 course, and it's like learning how to fly an airplane. I learned I tried to get my airline or my pilot's license, and you got to get 50 hours, okay, in of flight with a pilot.
So that's not solo. That's with. Oh, okay, got it. Yeah. So you need an instructor beside you for
okay, you got to get 50 hours of flying time before you can go solo.
Got it.
And I never got there. I never got to the point where I had confidence to do the solo thing. I gave it up. I could never feel the ground.
Right.
So I gave it up. But in that learning process, I realized the same thing with when you're learning what we're talking about, Dentistry 4, is you're learning how to open bites, which literally is the same analogy when you're in the air. Okay, you're not it's not traditional CO dentistry, centric occlusion dentistry. Mm-hmm. You're opening bites, and and so there's a lot of different principles you have to learn and understand to do it properly when you find this new position. So what we see this is like us being involved in the learning process is like a dentist when they have to first do their first big case, and a restorative case where it involves a new bite. Mm-hmm. We're literally that pilot that's helping them along the way. Right. In most schools, Tyler, if you go to Coyce or Spears, if you go through their course, you just don't call them up and say, hey, I'm having some issues with this and that. They have some mentors that will help you along the way, and that's great. But we're the ones who know the course inside out, know the material, and basically help the dentist along. So how we were just saying earlier, there's 3 points I want you to remember from this, thing. Yeah. Well, there's way more than 3 points in our Dentistry 4 course. And so we're the ones there that give you the cold cheat notes how to figure it out and remember some of the key points so that, okay, you got that aha moment and you move on.
Right.
So yeah, that's the, I think what we package really well with the course and why so many doctors actually doing it.
Well, and it's nice to know that, you're going through it with somebody. We've got 6 minutes. We're going through it with somebody so that you've got support, you've got mentorship beside you. You've got, especially if you're calling up your lab and saying, look, I want to make sure that I can actually, what I'm trying to do here can be accomplished. And that speaks tons to your confidence, right? To say, no, you're good. You got a green light from your lab. They can make it. So get in there and prep it and away you go. Right. So that says a lot.
No, thank you. That's what we're striving for.
I got a serious question for you though.
Okay.
And I stole this question.
You stole it.
I stole this question.
Oh, cool.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
I'd say it's a different level. No, it's not a sandwich. Now, if you call it a bratwurst, it's a meal, but...
I see you brought it back to the German thing again. I like that. Well done. Well done. See, I'm Irish, so I got to bring it back to, I don't know, some mince or mashed potatoes or something.
Guinness.
Guinness and mashed potatoes. I can't.
Still one of my favorite places I ever visited, Ireland.
Where's that? Oh, it's Ireland itself.
Still one of my favorite places I ever visited was Ireland. Drove around the whole island.
It's funny because I could have an Irish passport because my mom's from Dublin, and I've never been. And it shames me to admit that. Gosh. I know. I'll probably be there, once this COVID thing blows over.
Yeah, good luck getting there now.
Yeah, you're not going to be there in the next 6 months.
Or a year or two.
David, you've given us so much amazing information today.
Awesome.
We really appreciate you. I know how insanely busy you guys are, and having you on today was a real a great educational journey, and we'd love to have you back again sometime in the near future.
Well, keep praying for wisdom, and it will come.
Thanck you.
Okay.
Say hi to the family. Say hi to everyone at Ocean for us, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Okay.
We're going to play you out with some AC/DC today.
We needed to play you out with some AC/DC.
All right. Take care, David.
All right, bud.
Cheers.
Yeah.